Identify yourself, or I will open fire!
Oh, listen, lady, please! We've been stuck here forever! Help us get an evac off-world!
Yeah? Go fuck yourself! You shitpiles give chase, I will kill your dicks!
What? What does that even mean? You're gonna kill my dick? Well, I'll kill your dick! How about that, huh?
Speaking of dick-killing parties...
Welcome to Between the Joysticks! Press start and then we're off! Nick and John, they've got the sauce! Breaking news and some hot takes! Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks, it's the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 134 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John. John,
Hey, buddy.
We're meeting at that cemetery.
Oh, no.
We are gathering.
No. I feel like this is like, it's just a reoccurring thing at this point. It's fine. I learned to embrace the cemetery.
Yeah, another live service game is dying. You don't know who, though, do you?
I feel like I remember reading about one over the past week, but it's not coming up into my brain right now.
This is a real short-lived game.
Oh.
Star Wars Hunters.
No, okay, it wasn't the
From
one.
Zynga and Natural Motion. Just out last year, 6/4/24, but it's going to be put in the ground on October 1st of this year. Another live service game that it didn't make it.
Well, and I mean, look at it, Switch and PC and phones.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we've talked, I mean, everybody knows that for live service to succeed is already a hard thing to do, but you need to be everywhere. So, yeah,
I mean,
that's not surprising.
That's a lot of markets. I mean, phone is good.
It is, but like if you're not at the PlayStation and Xbox ecosystem as well, how much I wonder how much you truly I don't know. It seems like a nonsense decision to me. But alas.
Yep. Gone too soon.
I don't know.
As usual, do you have any nice things to say about Star Wars Hunters?
Star Wars Hunters, I didn't know you existed.
It had a character that was 3 Jawas put together.
3 Jawas? Oh, like stacked on top of each other?
Yeah.
It's kind of a cute idea. Give me Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but I get to play as those guys. And they can like separate and like do cool moves together, but then they just like kind of like ice climbers. They like reattach every time you kind of do a move. That'd be dope.
Yeah, there you go. See, we got there. What do you think the open critic score is for Star Wars Hunters?
Well, I know that you're asking because it's crazy, so I'm gonna go 45.
Yeah, what game was 38 that we saw?
I don't. Resident Evil Reverse.
Yeah, Reverse.
Yeah. I think 7 Days to Die originally was like in the 30s also. But you know.
No, this is at 60.
Okay.
So
right.
not as bad. IGN gave it a 7. So.
Yeah, 7 Days to Die is a 37. Oops. But I think that game is not in the graveyard yet. So they figured it out, I guess.
Keyword yet.
Yeah, yet.
But that's all I really got. I don't really have much to say on Star Wars Hunters again. Yeah, it never came to our platform of choice. Not a lot of buzz about the game.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, I mean, Star Wars it as a whole, I think they're still as popular as they've ever been, right? The company, but or I don't know. Star Wars isn't a company, right? I guess Lucas or Disney or whoever at this point, but they do need to reinvent themselves, figure some things out, and so yeah, maybe a bright colored, just lightsaber focus like type thing is not really what people who are invested in Star Wars are really looking for right now. I mean, you can maybe speak to this better than I can, but like it seems like gritty is more in swing and what the fans want. You know, the Andors, the Mandalorian type stuff than like kind of prequel looking things, but I'm also talking out of my ass right now, so I have no idea.
I mean, they are going to show a game at Star Wars Celebration in April. The Respawn, like not the Jedi Survivor series, but the turn-based tactical Star Wars game that they've been working on.
Could be cool.
So.
Did that Mandalorian game ever, like, is that still a thing? It never got announced, and
I feel like that was fake.
Yeah, it was a long time ago also.
And what John's referring to is there was like a footage of a third-person Mandalorian game was out there, and the rumor I think at the time it was like an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
That it was being worked on, but I don't remember who they said was working on it. It was
right when like Mando season 1, I think, like kind of realized, or like it was like right after season 1, so like they realized that this is a thing and got working on it. But I don't know, we're probably just causing rumors.
Star Wars Bounty Hunter game sequel would be nice.
That'd be good. It'd be better than that, whatever that was.
But yeah, we'll have some Star Wars video game news soon, so that's cool.
Sure,
but hopefully it's better than Star Wars Hunters.
It's hard not to be.
All right, well that's all I really got. This is gonna be maybe a shorter episode.
Maybe we've famous last words.
And I apologize for my voice. I sound weird today. I don't know why.
Yeah, Nick had a great time on his cruise, but he caught a little bug and he's having a tough time shaking it.
Yeah, I'm really over it.
Yeah,
over it.
He's not a caffeine guy, but I guess he chugged an energy drink on the way in. Had a coffee also. I thought he looked the tiredest I've ever seen him after both of those. So appreciate you being here, Nick. Your intro was good. Your little hey, you brought the energy. So
I'm trying.
Keep it
I'm
up.
trying, folks. I just need to sleep for like 24 hours or something. I don't know, something like that.
That's a big one.
But again, that's all I got, John. So. Do you have something?
I guess just I mean, I can officially put a bow on Slay the Princess. I rolled credits the other night. Now I get the feeling that I got one of many endings. That's how these games operate.
Sure.
So I do want to pick it back up, but like I feel like I did at least. I finished it and got through it. Enjoyed my time with it. It got very obtuse, like a lot of these games tend to do. They kind of, they have a lot to say, and you get a lot of what they're trying to say by exploring and doing the multiple endings. So, I think it's something I will return to eventually. But I do echo everything I said last week. It is a very high quality game. Everything that it does, if you like this type of genre, if you like narrative-based things, choice-based things, kind of just seeing different pathways and whatnot, it's great. But it also, I did need to go onto a wiki and what does all of this mean? Like, it gets into, it goes off the rails like a lot of these do. But I still did like it quite a bit.
Give it a score, you bitch.
It's an 8.
An 8?
It's an 8. Yep. It's an 8 with potential. That number, like again, that number could move. I mean, honestly, it could drop too if you continue to do.
I think for this type of game, an 8 from you is pretty strong.
It's good. Yeah, no, it is good. Even the
you
fact
don't need
that
to put any caveats to it. I'm surprised you even played it at all.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Well, there's a definite lore chapter in my video game world, which starts with the Hollow Knight craziness, and it ends with I need to play something that's not super tactile and
something to veg out on.
Exactly. So it was a good time for it. It was short. I was kind of surprised when I rolled credits, honestly. But there's a lot more that I can see out of that game. So I do recommend it to people who like any of that kind of thing. So Black Tabby Games will be they'll be a developer that when they produce their next thing, it's like, okay, despite what this might look like, it's going to be incredibly well written and a little more than what you see on the surface.
Okay.
So, pretty cool. Glad I played it. It's like $11 right now, or at least it was when it was on sale. But even if it's not on sale, I think it's $15. So
yeah.
Pretty good price.
All right. Well, if that's it, then now can we move into the show?
So I think that's the first time you've ever called me a bitch on show. I don't know.
Because you do it to me.
I don't know. I know. I don't know how I feel about this.
Trying to keep it spicy.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into the show. This is how the show works. John and I can both bring up the 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, like a Slay the Princess. It can be a news item. It can be a topic. It can be an email from you, the listener. That email address is betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. It can be a Twitter DM @joystickspod or a comment on our YouTube page, which is @betweenthejoysticks. Any of those things, we can bring it and we can talk about it. And an interesting week of news involving PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, John, kick it off with the first thing.
Yeah, so we know our beloved PlayStation, and when they produce a game that they publish, it's typically one of their first party teams. So when you get different agreements and things like the one we're about to talk to, it does kind of make you perk up and make you wonder. So over from Gematsu, they posted an article. We're gonna pull kind of their top level insight into it, just to make it nice to listen to, because you don't want me to just spew things at you. So we officially got word from People Can Fly, or that People Can Fly has entered into an agreement with Sony Interactive Entertainment regarding the production of a prototype of a new game codenamed Project Delta, based on an intellectual property already belonging to Sony Interactive Entertainment. The developer will cooperate on production on a work-for-hire model, meaning that People Can Fly will work as the developer on behalf of Sony Interactive Entertainment. The publisher, Sony Interactive Entertainment, who is the publisher, in return receive an agreed remuneration, which just means money received, from Sony Interactive Entertainment. Work on the game prototype will be divided into stages. According to People Can Fly, the scope and provisions of the agreement do not differ substantially from the provisions of production agreements normally entered into for this type of project. So, obviously leads to a lot of speculation. This is not something that Sony typically does. There's a lot. Sony loves to operate in the second-party capacity, but this one does feel different. You don't see these type of press releases typically. Now, granted, I believe this was originally picked up from People Can Fly's website, so obviously they're going to be feeling pretty special. I would imagine if Sony comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, we want you to work on one of our projects or one of our IPs," you're going to feel pretty good about yourself. But that obviously leads to the question, what's the IP? What is this going to look like? Is this going to be something that Sony continuously tries to pursue, as we know that game costs and things like that increase? But let's just start with Nick. What do you think? Do you have any inclinations as to what this is? I got a couple of projects outlined that I think is high likelihood. Real quick before I get your thoughts, just for the listeners, People Can Fly has developed a couple games. They typically work with Epic on co-publishing or co-developing a lot of things, like the Gears of War series, Bulletstorm, things like that. But they have done a couple of games outright, specifically Painkiller, the first game they ever did, and then the game Outriders, which was pretty popular a couple of years back. So, Nick, what are your thoughts? What you thinking, buddy?
I think obviously a lot of people are going to go with those games that you mentioned, which are first-person and shooters. So I know the top candidates are in that realm for Sony are Killzone, Resistance, and SOCOM, games that we have not seen another entry in a very, very long time. PS3 for Resistance and SOCOM. Was there a PS4 SOCOM game? Yeah, there was.
I don't. Yeah,
maybe
there was a game that was the famous PSN Blackout. That was the PS4 generation, right? Or was that PS3? Because I believe the last SOCOM game was literally released like a week before that shit went down. So I don't.
Anyway, it's been a long time, and then Killzone was the last time we saw it was a launch PS4 game. So those are the candidates people are leaning towards, but Sony does have a lot of different IPs.
Real quick, SOCOM 4 was a PS3 game. That is the last one we've seen.
Okay, so it probably is one of those. Personally, I don't want it to be any of those.
Yeah, well.
I know everyone has feelings for those games, and I played them all. I didn't play the Killzone game, the last one, but I played Killzone 1 through 3, Resistance 1 through 3, and they're just forgettable. Like, not games that I would like to see, but I don't know, maybe with a new publisher or a new developer, maybe they can
branch out a bit.
Yeah, make it a more interesting.
Well, let me ask you this: is there any? So besides those three, is there anything that does pop up in your brain for that you would like?
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just canceled one.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
maybe
true.
that was.
I mean, it was supposedly a live service game, so maybe if they say no, we're not going to pursue that, even though I think Twisted Metal makes the most sense of live service out of all their things. But yeah, that's possible.
Twisted. Yeah,
What about like Infamous?
Oh man, I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see a new Infamous game. Yeah, that's a really good choice. That is probably my number one choice.
Yeah. So I have agree with you. The 3 that you mentioned, Resistance, Killzone, SOCOM, I would put money on it being one of those. I have Infamous written down as a potential. I mean, let's take a step back though real quick. So what does People Can Fly do? They love shooting. They love chunkiness, right? You know, Gears of War and Outriders. It just feels like your boots on the ground, that kind of thing. And also something that I noticed is Project Delta. Delta is the 4th Greek letter. So I'm just looking into that a little bit. So there has been Killzone 1, 2, 3. There has been Resistance 1, 2, 3. So I'm personally putting my money on Resistance because there was Shadowfall. You can maybe make an argument that
three
before.
Infamous games too, though.
That is true. That is true. But again, I'm putting a little more stock in the chunkiness that the People Can Fly roots, right? Gears of War and things like that. I think they're a team that is not that you don't shoot lightning bolts out of your hand in Infamous,
Right.
but I just think it's more suited for what they're used to. A couple other series, Warhawk or Starhawk are big multiplayer games that a lot of people love. I don't know if People Can Fly has any type of experience with vehicles and things.
Do you think it's a live service game?
I hope not. I don't think so. I think Sony.
I would say the timing would be interesting given all
Yeah.
their the rumors and the cancellations of all their other live service projects. It would be weird to sign them for another one.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Sony is realizing that, you know, the irons that they have in the fire in the live service world, like, you know, the Fair Games and things in the Horizon game, they're going to keep those going, but they need to be a little bit more deliberate. So I think that this one would be like a one-off type thing, where it's like we're going to get a single-player game.
So it'd be like a Killzone would be like a Call of Duty game. It'd have a campaign and a multiplayer. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Or, again, you know, I think it's Resistance. You know, I think it's going to – Guerrilla and Insomniac make a ton of sense for me to have their IP specifically because those are two teams that are tied up with other things, right? Insomniac has an agreement with Marvel that, like, you're fucking making this shit. And, of course, they're going to because it makes money.
Yeah.
But at the sacrifice of, like, their other IP, which – you know, I disagree with Nick a little bit. I think Resistance is pretty cool from a first-person shooter standpoint just because their weapons are more like the Insomniac Ratchet and Clank style weapons. You know, I think of the Tracer assault rifle that you can shoot a thing into and then shoot just in the air and it goes over to the enemies you need. I like that a lot.
And when you look at like their original IP game, Bulletstorm, there's a lot of similarities with crazy weapons and stuff like that.
So I think that makes the most amount of sense. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Sony making these type of decisions, though. I think, you know, you have to look at other ways to continuously, you know, get your revenues going when things are, you know, the margins are not. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a cool thing that, you know, if it works for them, if this is something, if People Can Fly, you know, make some money. Obviously, there was that remuneration word in there. If they make money, PlayStation gets a successful entry into one of their existing IPs. They can grow that out, you know, and then maybe they can either foster developments with these teams or look elsewhere, right? People Can Fly isn't owned by anybody, is it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's one of the rare teams out there, too, that, like, I don't know. They're probably looking like, guys, if we knock this out of the park, like, you know, it's assuming they want to be bought. I would imagine if teams are going to get bought, Sony's a pretty decent place to land at. You know, it could make a lot of sense. But, you know, we don't have a lot of information outside of this, so we're just kind of speculating.
No, and yeah, if they're just now talking about it, have they been working on it for a while? Is it even going to be a PS5 game? Or are we talking the ink's just dry and we're talking a PS6 game? Yeah, I have a feeling it might be quite a while before we actually see what in the world this is, unless it's the shortest of teasers, like the.
Right.
But I mean, that would require a lot of faith in this project,
Right.
If you're going to do like the God of War Ragnarok style tease of, you know, just a logo, but.
Let's do People Can Fly's version of Parappa the Rappa.
Never know,
Let's
man.
go.
You never know. Yeah, and not to say that it has to be a big AAA game. It could be a smaller game. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Because People Can Fly is a big studio, so they have a couple irons in the fire. So
Yeah,
knows?
Polish team. You know, it's cheaper to make games over there, so you know they can stretch the dollar out a little bit more.
But yeah, the only thing to note is the line about they're using an existing PlayStation IP. Like,
There's
like
not
you
a
said, I think
ton.
that's what it makes this more interesting to talk about. Is, I mean, PlayStation doesn't really have a lot of IPs. I mean, it could be Little Big Planet.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at one of the ways I was kind of like trying to rattle my brain was I looked at the roster for PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale and just see is there like anything in there, and there's not a ton outside of what we said. I mean, you got Fat Princess, Ape Escape, Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter. I don't think they're gonna get tapped to make a kid-friendly like platformer game like that. Heavenly Sword is in there. I don't know if didn't think Sony owned that. Maybe they do. But there's not a ton of choices. So
Jack and Daxter.
If there's
Ratchet
like
and
some
Clank.
betting odds things like Killzone and Resistance are at like minus 150 or whatever. I don't know a lot about betting. I'm trying here though. And then like everything else is plus 3,000.
Right.
You'll see. So, cool though. Nonetheless, I love these. These are the type of news stories that kind of I'm gonna start thinking. My brain's working. What is this going to be? And then if it does turn out to be the fourth entry into something, I can thump my chest on recognizing Delta as the fourth Greek letter. But I have nothing else to say about it, Nick, unless if there's anything you have.
No. Like I said, I just we talked about the interesting part. And
Sure did.
We'll see. We'll see probably in a couple of years.
Yep.
All right. Another weird news item involving PlayStation and is involving Jason Blundell. And if you're not familiar with that name, he kind of made a name for himself when working at Treyarch and the Call of Duty franchise, particularly Black Ops, which is if you were to rank all the Call of Duty sub franchises, either number 1 or number 2.
I'd say 2, but that's also
With
probably
Modern
some
Warfare.
bias with me liking Modern Warfare more.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're the fans out there, and he's been creative director over there for quite a while, and he's been and he left Treyarch, and then he was involved with Deviation Games, which I think we talked about on this show, which was another studio that was doing kind of like People Can Fly, working on a game for PlayStation that never materialized. He left the studio way back, and then that studio no longer exists. So we have no idea what they were working on again, or we have no idea what they were working on. And then, he just shows up on Jeff Gerstmann's podcast randomly. And if you're not familiar with Jeff Gerstmann, he is formerly of GameSpot, and then the founder of Giant Bomb, which, in my own little history, the Bombcast at one point was my favorite podcast out there when he was on there, when that just started. Do you remember why he left GameSpot? You might have been.
There was some drama. I know it was heavy drama. It was like something about a review score, wasn't it?
Yeah. He led all the review writers. He was the kind of the lead reviewer, and he reviewed Kane and Lynch and gave it a poor review. And at the time, I believe it was Square Enix. I don't remember who published Kane and Lynch.
Sounds right.
But they were threatening the website to pull advertising, and at the time, GameSpot did not do a good job of shielding those two worlds, your marketing and your ad people from your review editorial. And he got fired because of that, which now is called Gerstmann Gate, because of course they deny that's the reason, but then
Of course.
But then, and to bring things full circle, the parent company that owns GameSpot bought Giant Bomb, and which they confirmed, yes, that was why he got fired. And it wasn't just that review, too. There were other
Corporate fat
reviews.
cats think they can get one past us.
There were other reviews out there as well. So, yeah, Jeff Gerstmann is one of those personalities that you probably have heard of before. But he's doing his own thing now in his own podcast. Lucky him. I'll just start a Patreon, and I instantly can just make a living.
Nick is not jealous. Not at all.
One day for us, John.
Yep.
One day for us. He had
Go
Jason.
become the editorial somewhere, and then we can,
I'll go work
you
for
get fired,
IGN.
and then we'll be fine.
So that's how we landed here with Jason Blundell on Gerstmann's podcast, and he kind of just drops a little bit of a tidbit that he is working at. He started another studio called Dark Outlaw Games, and they are a Sony first-party studio.
Yeah, new studio announcement.
And I will put the rumor tag on this because it's not confirmed. No, Sony has never once said, "Hey, like they've been doing with all the when they were getting the other studios, like Welcome to the Family, Bungie, and all the other studios that they've been working with recently. So no word from PlayStation on this, but I guess John. I guess we're having the conversation all over again that we just had.
Right.
What is Jason Blundell working on for Sony now?
Well, it has to be a shooter. I think that's something we can put that in the sand, which makes the idea of People Can Fly working, revitalizing one of Sony's. They only have a couple shooter franchises out there. If I am correct, interesting timing, but
for all we know, they're working on the same game. That's also possible.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. Yeah, I mean, People Can Fly they co-developed with Epic a long time, so maybe. But I think it's absolutely safe to say that it will be a shooter of some kind. Arguably the biggest gap in Sony's portfolio forever has been the lack of having a first-party shooting team. Right, that's the one area that Xbox has always been on top with. So, getting the guy who basically created Zombies in there is definitely a big get. I mean, he is a creative mind who probably has a lot of ideas spinning around in there, and if Sony can capitalize on those and put out a good shooting game, maybe there's some way to rope in the live service shit that we kind of hate, but if you can do it in the right way, it could be a major boon for them. But I don't know. I mean, like, I also get nervous now because I really liked Sony's strategy that they haven't employed in a couple of years of working with teams, making sure that it's a good fit, then buying them after as opposed to what we've seen with Fire Sprite, Haven, and Bungie. Yeah, these teams, like every single time this has happened, Haven's still out there to know where that's going to land. But it's like, this hasn't worked so far. So it's I hope that they've really made sure that this is a good fit first. Obviously, they've had a relationship with this guy for a minute now with the deviation things. But, like, I don't know. It's just like, you can't make any assumptions if it's going to be good or bad. But, I mean, I like that they're trying to move forward at the very least. But still unsure how I feel.
Yeah, and I skepticism is definitely the lead feeling here because Jason Blundell, he worked on Call of Duty games, and no offense, you're riding the coattails of Infinity Ward, who is the developer of Modern Warfare, and then Vince Zampella and Jason West, the guys who created that studio, went on to make Respawn Entertainment, and that's got to be one of the most successful developer studios out there. And it's very hard to have that kind of success over and over again. And like I said, especially if your claim to fame is just you've been making imitations of another franchise, the Call of Duty franchise. Right. And then the one studio you did work at after Treyarch didn't produce a game, so it's skepticism from here. It's hard to be excited.
It's interesting. Like, I will say, anecdotally, like, just looking at when this was announced, like, there is a very vocal community, at least online. So take that for what you will. Jason Blundell fans, they're just like, if he gets creative reign to do what he wants, he'll make a great product. And like, so I for better or for worse, he is a known name.
Call of Duty heads.
Yeah, but like Vince Zampella is a name, Jason Blundell is a name, Ken Levine is a name. Anytime you can become a named developer, there is something there. But I don't know.
I mean, he could be, like I said, like those guys, or Kojima, who they leave, they form their own studio, and the magic's there, and whatever their next game is, and then they prove themselves again.
Do we think he's got a one game leash so far? Like, if they get, like, because I mean, people die real quickly in this industry now. Not people, but even studios. So it's just like, hey, if you release a game and people don't like it,
canceled so many games.
I know, and that's why I just worry that, like, okay, guys, I hope that this is, you guys, had a reason to do this as opposed to just like, we're scared that Microsoft's going to buy up everything.
And I wonder, because remember when they restructured Bungie, they pulled people off to like work on another project. They were like integrating them back into Sony.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is part of this as well. If that would now you're talking.
That's a great point. I
Bungie developers with him, that could lead to something special.
I like what you're cooking over there. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, take the knowledge of a single player first, maybe / multiplayer shooter brain, combine that with the shooter magic of Bungie. Despite what you think about their games, they know how to make a shooter, and maybe with some, a little live service-y, hopefully not, but you add that in there too, and not a bad thought, Nick. Not a bad thought. You earned your paycheck this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think this is just another thing that we'll in the next couple of years we'll finally see what this is. But it's interesting. Sony, like I think as we talked about with Sony in the driver's seat now that Xbox is publishing their games on their platform, that it's at least good to know that Sony's trying new things at least, and hopefully they see the light of day and we find out about them.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. So Nick, I want to, this one, we're kind of existing in the rumor world today. That's really nothing.
It's the calm before the Switch 2 storm. So.
Yeah. We'll have a lot to say in April and May for you guys, but for right now, I got another rumor I want to talk about. But this one's kind of juicy, and it's. I love this franchise, so I wanted to at least just discuss it. Think, if you have any weird, wacky ideas. But we got a little Resident Evil 9 rumor circulating around here, talking about the franchise being reinvented again, much like 4 and 7. So this was posted on X from well-known Resident Evil series insider Dusk Golem. He talked about the 9th main entry of the survival horror series, saying that fans will realize why the new game is taking this long to release when it is revealed, as it is a big reinvention of the series as much as the 4th and 7th entries in the series were back in the day, that will be very ambitious and will try new things that will make it play. I think they're missing play unlike anything its direct predecessors or remakes have. Dusk Golem also seems certain that it will be revealed this year, so hopefully it will be part of the usual slew of summer reveals in a few months. So, wanted to discuss, Nick, what do you think? What do you think that big change is? What would you want to see? And just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit here.
Yeah, well, the big change can really be anything, right? Capcom uses what they call the RE engine for all their games. And by all their games, I mean all of them. From Street Fighter to Monster Hunter to Resident Evil to Exoprimal. They're all in this RE engine. Devil May Cry.
Arguably the best engine out there.
Yeah, whatever.
Honestly,
it
it's
does
probably
the
the magic behind their renaissance of a studio.
Probably. That it's hard, that diversity of games coming out of that engine can really mean anything. Now, if it's going to be Resident Evil, right? It's going to probably have storage limitations. It's going to be a shooter of some kind, whether third person or first person. It's going to have all the staples, but as far as a big shift, I'm curious as to what that is. We theorized before the show that maybe open world is where it could go.
The leading idea.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I trust them to do well. I mean, Capcom can't miss right now. But I would be very curious as to what an open world Resident Evil game would be. It would be a lot of zombies on screen.
Yeah.
Like a Dead Rising game at that point.
Well, you kind of have a couple schools of thought, right? You could go that route. I think that would be the wrong route because Resident Evil 6, I think, is a great example, right? People in this franchise, they tried to make it much more action heavy and much more this is what we're doing. We're going in for a badass adventure, and people rejected that. So I do agree with you that I think open world is what we're looking at here. But what do you think about the idea? I titled this "Let the Age of the Elden Ring Truly Begin," where we're starting to get. I think these developers are now going to employ a lot of what Elden Ring did into games that they can, right? The other day, we had a note from Naughty Dog that Intergalactic is heavily inspired by Elden Ring. And the idea of open world areas that kind of lead you to these things that just intrigue you, and then random events will happen. And I think that a Resident Evil game set in Raccoon City, where you have these events that can kind of just organically happen, could be really cool. The problem is that for me personally, I don't want to ever feel like I have a ridiculous amount of ammo and I'm John Rambo. I always want to be on edge, so I don't know how you balance that out where you can have the equipment and shit you need to handle situations, but not like blow through all your ammo, or I don't know. It would be a tricky thing to do, but I kind of like the idea, and I know you didn't play Elden Ring, Nick, but like there's the legacy dungeons in that game, right? Where you have the open world, but then you have Stormvale Castle, the police department. And then you have this other area where it's like, okay, this is a mansion. And you could put together a longer Resident Evil game that has these kind of the things you're familiar with like maybe like the tight corridors. We're going to do this for a little bit, a la Silent Hill 2 with, you know, the I don't remember the places, but you know. And I could see that working. I just, that idea of I want to be scared, I want to be resource dependent, and how do you balance that out? But I think that's kind of where we're going. Personally. Now,
do you think... I could, yeah, and I definitely like that idea, right? That it's, you know, it's open world, but yeah, there are dungeons, quote unquote, that are the staples of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Do you think like there would be more RPG mechanics in it at that point, like stats, like loot, different weapons? I mean, different weapons are for sure, but different two different handguns, but one handgun does bleed damage, and then another one does like knockback or something, you know,
sure.
like kind of
yeah,
that.
Different enemy types, and yeah, I mean that's kind of you almost need to excuse my use of this word bloat because I hate bloat, but you need to expand upon, you know, the things you're doing, and I don't know how you could do stats in a Resident Evil game. So I'm gonna say you couldn't increase health, you could increase stamina, but like in terms of like damage, power, and stuff like that, I hope not. I hope that they ventured more on the weaponry side of things. You could have a super robust shopkeeper, right, where you can really get into the nitty gritty of what you want your guns to be like. You know, whether you want
do the voice.
Oh, what are you buying?
Yeah, there you
go. Took me a second. I'm glad I got there. But you know, yeah, you can customize it a little bit more. You can play the way you want to play. If you want a big fucking scope on a rifle and you want to play in the open world, you want to snipe zombies real far away, you can do that. Do you want a shotgun when you're dealing with like super up close, and you can do that? I don't know. I think that makes the most amount of sense. Obviously, we're not getting a racing Resident Evil game. Obviously, we're not getting a dating sim Resident Evil game. But I could see them attempting this.
Do you think there would be a vehicle?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you have to if it's
and like yeah, and you know maybe it's a little column A, little column B, right? Like the open world section is not nearly as robust as Elden Ring, right? We're more we're more like balanced because let me take a step back.
Well, I mean, there's what world is Resident Evil not like urban, right? Like, and when you're talking urban, it's
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you could do something like that, but there would be at least a town. There's going to be a town.
You can't just have fields and valleys and stuff.
Right. Like,
yeah, so I don't know. You know, like apparently I was reading, and I don't know how much credibility there was to this. Like there was some early leak rumors about this game where you play as Leon, and there is a motorcycle involved, where you know you're able to navigate, or you know somebody was even like, oh yeah, it could be like you know Rebirth, where there's like a motorcycle mini game. It's like I don't think we're going that level of craziness, but yeah, you know some way to traverse, and you know you can kind of add the danger element into it. Maybe there's areas of the map that are just like zombie fucking infested, right? Like you know if you have to get from this point to this point, good luck. So you better have your motorcycle, otherwise you're gonna get swarmed. I don't know. I guess all I'm trying to say is like I can see it having a cool impact on this franchise, but I do worry at what cost, and will we lose what Resident Evil is, which is what I think why 6 is so panned, because it lost what Resident Evil is. 5 even lost a little bit, but people love that game still because of the co-op experience, and they were able to pull through. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I think you're going to see some Elden Ring clones coming out here soon, or at least a lot of inspiration from it, because we're at that point now where 3 years past it. You're going to start seeing the development cycles catch up. It was obviously a ground-shaking experience for people. So
yeah, and sold a lot of copies. So
sure did.
Yeah, or they could be lying, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just Resident Evil. You know, maybe it's just like the remakes, just a new game now. You're like Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, but now it's just Resident Evil 9, new protagonist. Well. And that's another part that I don't like, is that they keep going back to the same people.
I was going to ask you if you could pick one. I know you're in love with Jill, but like, you know, besides, you know, if you had, I don't have any attachment to any of them, so I don't really care. Leon's probably
Barry.
my closest.
I mean, Barry from the first game.
Sure.
You know.
As long as
yeah, I don't know, but maybe they're again. This is all rumors up there, and when you say like when you're talking like a big shift, like Resident Evil 7 was,
We're like, what else could it be?
right?
It's not side
And I
scroller.
think I know they quote Resident Evil 4, but like Resident Evil 4 was like I felt like the technology helped a lot. You know, it was GameCube time, not PS2 fixed camera angles. It was like it defined modern gaming. You know,
Just all I got
over the shoulder, third person, but.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 has an argument to be. I mean, it's in the top 10 most influential games of all time, easily.
Right.
Just don't, Capcom, for the love of God, don't include some dumb like. You can be a zombie and there's 100 zombies and and try to outlast Leon. Like, not that would be the main game, of course, but I don't know. I worry when companies get wise ideas. What are you thinking? Are you one of the cool ones or one of the weird ones?
Well.
Luckily, Capcom's usually one of the cool ones.
Don't besmirch Capcom, all right? They're hitting so hard.
Well, I'm not. I believed in Exoprimal. I like them so much, all right? Don't you worry.
That we'll see what they do here. But yeah, that'll be big. Whenever it shows up, Resident Evil.
It shows up, you know it's Resident Evil, and then you start to see some sort of craziness about the trailer. You're like, oh no.
And just
the idea like going through an open world and like, I mean, we know we've experienced Mr. X and Lady D and stuff like that, but like, I just remember playing Elden Ring and going through a valley and then going through it again, and then this time because it's at nighttime, a fucking dragon swoops in. I'm like, oh god, like just not expecting. Like that's just awesome. So you could easily do that with zombies type stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean,
maybe we'll make a believer.
The franchise has gone crazy. It could be an ogre, there's so many Resident Evil enemies that are just as fantastical as any other fantasy series.
Maybe they bought the Nemesis system from Warner Brothers somehow, and that would be dude, Resident Evil with a Nemesis system.
What are they all going to be Mr. X's though?
I don't know. I don't know. Eventually, they gain like smarts as they get level up, and they can start talking and shit talking.
Before we move on, do you feel that the franchise needs this kind of shift?
Ooh, good question. Yes, I do.
Because you really only got like 2 games in this first-person mode, right? That they've kind of adopted the Ethan Winters story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought I thought 9 for sure was going to be this, and it still could be, but like the culmination of their abilities as first-person, third-person, and VR developers. So I kind of thought that was going to be the shift, where it's like you can experience this story or game in any way you want, but
it'd be along the lines of like
it would still be
like 8, like a traditional.
But I will say, like, I loved 7. 7 makes a run at my favorite Resident Evil game, but 8 disappointed me. I don't know what it was. I think it felt a little disconnected and doesn't speak well for an open world experience. But I'd be down for them to say like, yeah, we're gonna try something new. I mean, because if you go Resident Evil 9 as first person again, I'd be like, okay, cool, but I really like 7, but 8 was okay. Which one is it? Where we all land? So I'm down for them trying.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Find out later this year. I mean, you continually to predict it to show up, so eventually, it'll show up at one of these events.
One of these times,
it'll be at the Switch 2 reveal.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
What do kids love more than zombies?
All right, so that leads us to what our final topic.
Sure does.
As talked about on the last show, as I played and completed Citizen Sleeper all in one day. About I think it took me like 8 hours. That was a good day. That was a good gaming session when you just sit down and you can play a game that much and walk away with a juicy platinum trophy to rub in John's face. Because I do always think about when I think you said this on, I don't know if you said it's on the show or not, but like deleting a game is a great feeling.
Oh, I love it. It's dumb. It's not why shouldn't be why I play video games, but yeah, I haven't deleted Hollow Knight yet because Levi, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, just the like finishing anything, and why I kind of like, I'm trying to get away from Marvel Rivals is because it's like that game will just never end. It'll always exist there. Whereas I feel it's a positive emotion when I'm like, oh, I completed a game. Delete. Yep. Completed a game. Delete.
I always feel like might be a weird reference, but I've seen Christmas Vacation probably more than any other movie ever, and I always feel like Clark Griswold with the squirrel, where he gets it out of the house and he goes, gone. But it jumps on Julia Louis-Dreyfus's face or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Gone.
And so yeah, and again, this was just when I got my TV, I was looking for games to play. I just decided to get PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium because it was super cheap, and kind of look back over what was added over the past year, and this was one of the many games that I had a cursory interest in and wanted to check it out.
Good word.
So, Citizen Sleeper is a 2022 video game. It is currently, I have it. It was sitting at I think it's 84. So I'm out of the 70s, John. I'm getting up there. This is from developer Jump Over the Age. It has a sequel that just came out, Citizen Sleeper 2, and then it has a subtitle that I forget. But yeah, it's a very weird game to talk about, and that's kind of why I didn't bring it last week. The story is you are basically a sleeper, quote unquote, which is just a synthetic human. You were a human once, but your memories were placed into a robot. This robot goes into indentured servitude for a corporation, and you escape that and land on this space station called the Eye, and you kind of make your life there. And the art style is cyberpunk through and through. Obviously, you're an android basically.
Do you like Cyberpunk?
Not really.
Oh, okay, I wasn't
not
sure.
really my thing. And then the game this is kind of the loop of the game is that you're concerned with. It's very word heavy. Everything is in very long dialogue. It kind of like, remember those books that you would read and they're like, choose your own adventure, and it'd be like, oh, turn to page 3. You're kind of doing this exact same thing here. You're reading a lot, and then you're making decisions, and then what is happening up into not just people talking, but like the physical actions taken. Like if a person takes out a gun and points it at you, that is all you're just reading it all. There's no video, there's nothing. There's just the art of the character you're interacting with.
Sounds like Slay the Princess.
Yeah, pretty much. And then your interface is the space station itself, and you got kind of like the super wide eye look of the entire space station, and then every location there is just a little icon on the map, and you just click it, and you're quote unquote there. Nothing really changes. You're still at that super view of the entire space station. And so your initial concerns are food and stabilizers, because they make sure you survive as this robot human hybrid that you are. And so you need money, and you need to do work, and so you can go to areas of the ship.
Sorry, I just like the idea that you're a synthetic humanoid in a space station and you need money.
Yeah.
Never can get away from money.
Yeah. The consumerism gets us all.
Yep.
So what happens is you can go to work, and how work works in this is every day you start with dice, and which is 1 through 6, and you can use those dice for actions. And the higher the number on the dice is, the more likely you'll have a positive outcome from your task. So if you're doing a job, you might earn more money if you can get that positive outcome, or you can get a neutral outcome, or you can get a negative outcome. And a negative outcome will affect all those stats, your food stat, and that stabilizer stat. So you can start having like health issues, and I never got there, but I'm assuming there's a game over like a failure point where you're just fucked. Like you're not, if you don't have money and you don't take care of those things, that you could really go down the rabbit hole of not being able to work anymore, because as you get tired, or that stabilizer level goes down, you get less and less dice each day. And so the loop is kind of like, wake up in the morning, make sure you have food, make sure you have stabilizer, work, start taking on side quests from these other characters, go to bed, rinse and repeat. There is also this like cyber world where you kind of take your consciousness into the network of the space station, and you can get resources by hacking different nodes and stuff like that too. It is really out there, and I hope I'm describing it. If not, just look up a video of the game. You said you checked it out?
Yeah, I checked it out for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, back when I had extra too, I listened to a podcast, and somebody was really, really high on it. And so I just wanted to see what kind of game it was, and I was not in a reading mood.
Oh,
So
I was gonna say, well,
I'm done.
Turn off.
Yeah.
Because I know, the dice roll can be a thing too, right? Like getting negative outcomes in
And
Baldur's Gate 3 or
This is the question
Disco
I typed out, Nick.
Elysium.
Here's my question: do you feel shitty every time you get a bad dice roll, or does it sometimes add to the experience?
In Baldur's Gate, I did not like getting a bad dice roll. In this, it didn't feel as bad.
Okay, it's like Disco Elysium.
You
another
were much
dice-
more recoverable.
Okay, well, because in Disco Elysium, part of it is like you're supposed to embrace the bad dice roll because it adds to the experience. So getting a bad dice roll in this, though, it's always just like, well, I'm just got the bad outcome.
Right,
kind of,
right,
but it doesn't
right.
hurt. Okay, but it doesn't hurt as much. I get it.
No, and a lot of these actions you're doing over and over and over again. So a bad dice roll really doesn't lock you out of anything. And as long as you're keeping on like your food and money and stuff, you're really not gonna like. I never had an issue. I was always making, if it was like a story critical dice roll, I just made sure I had the highest dice all the time.
This would be a very dumb peripheral for anybody to ever make, but I kind of wish there was a way you could like roll dice in real life, and then it show because I don't trust computers, man. I don't trust you. Like you're doing something behind the scenes. Let me roll the dice, see what it happens, and then it's. But that would be the stupidest implementation into gaming ever. Maybe Nintendo will do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you had all you really need is a camera and then pointing at dice, and it could pick it up. But and you do get stats in this game. You have like endure and like a intellect and all this stuff. And what those stats do is if you have a 3 dice and you're really good at engineering, you can get that stat up to a plus. You can get +2 in that stat, and so now that dice, since this is an engineering task, is 3 + 2. Now you're rolling. Now you're doing 5. So
I like that.
Especially when you get in the later game, it's just like I had more money than I could ever need, more resources than I could ever use, and so I was able to just play the story. And another neat thing about this game is there are multiple endings. I had to take advantage to get this platinum of cloud save shenanigans. I had a spoiler-free guide that's like, oh, you're at this point in the quest? Make a cloud save here because if you keep going this way, the game will end, and then you'll be locked out of these other endings. And that's always fun. When you play the cloud save game where it's like
cheating.
Cheating.
Cheater.
I got to turn off my automatic cloud saves. Okay, now I got to upload and then download and play this game.
I've never done
cheating.
that. I have never done that ever. Not in Elden Ring.
But yeah, I thought the game is very beautiful. I think that is the
I do
overall
like the art style. Yeah.
And not just from the art style. I think just overall as just a package, like talking about what it means to be human, meeting interesting people.
Don't say that. That actually sounds cool now.
Meeting interesting people in space and just it just that kind of experience, right? That as you meet new people and their hardships and they're amplified because you're on a space station with limited resources and again a lot of those cyberpunk things that I kind of really love when you combine humanity and technology at this level or get really explored in this. I was moved by a lot of the story elements, and some of the endings are really really good.
Good rating.
I definitely highly recommend you check out this game. I mean, it's either going to be for you or not. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think you either will like to read everything and anything, and you'll like the dice rolls and the kind of simplified interface, or it's going to turn you off completely. But I do recommend, again, it was on Game Pass. The sequel I know is on Game Pass, and then this game is on Extra if you want to check it out. Score, bitch.
Score, bitch.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I think
Cool.
I think it's got a lot of elements there that I like. I just feel like the dice are there, but I don't know why. I think it's just the throw in this little randomness element that keeps people like engaged and not just doing these simplified tasks over and over again. But I really don't think they ever changed the experience for me.
Okay. That's kind of good, and for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm just reading about this game, and they're talking about this having a lot of similarities to Supergiant's Transistor, which is interesting. Did you ever play Transistor?
No.
Okay.
I missed 2 of Supergiant Games.
I've
And
always
that's one
wanted
of
to go
them.
back and play that one, but okay. I have no more thoughts on that then because like I didn't miss it just says that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, man, like this strikes me as the kind of game for me that I would like in the right headspace.
Yes,
and like
exactly.
it's a Slay the Princess, it's an Undertale. Like I don't want to
Right.
play these kind of games all the time, but yeah, maybe if there's ever one day where it's like 85% off and like it's $6 and I can just throw it there for a rainy day. Either to get that or a large coffee somewhere. Right. So, cool, man. Are you gonna play the second one?
I probably eventually. Yeah, not right away.
It's Starward Vector, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it has a couple more elements in it. Like there's like companions and stuff like that.
It looks like there's like a very modest skill tree. Did the first one have a skill tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those stats.
That's what does the +1s and the +2s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are other benefits to those stats as well. Like you can get the ability to re-roll your dice and stuff like that. Like if you wake up in the morning and you're like, ew, I got all ones. There's like stats that are like, you can once a day
Rough start to
re-roll
the
all your
day.
dice. So, yeah, it's a very interesting game. Yeah, I'm glad I played it. I'm glad, like, I think between John and this show that I continue to just move away, and because AAA games just don't come out as fast, especially the ones that I like. That indie games are kind of one of the coolest things to happen to video games over like the last ever since Xbox Live Arcade became a thing. Indie games, the prevalence of indie games is great, and yeah, a lot of good studios out there making a lot of good games.
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
just thinking about Animal Well the other day. I was like, oh yeah, Animal Well.
Yeah, that's another game that go 75% off for me, please. I'll play it.
Well, like I said, yeah, you're not subscribed to anything, so you got to fully commit. But
I
yeah,
know.
if there's ever a deal on Extra, it's like all those games
I know.
are on Extra. So
When I finally kill my family.
Jesus, well, I got really dark.
Jokes, people, jokes.
And then yeah, to wrap, and I know we joke on here that it wants to be a Marvel Rivals podcast, but man, I want to give up that game so hard. I hate it.
Yeah.
I actively hate it. I hate live service games.
Look what you've done to yourself, Nick.
I know.
Look what's happened.
I know.
It's like
I love the art style. I love the Marvel hooks it has, but fuck, I hate live service games. They suck so hard, and they turn me into the worst version of myself. So
Yeah. Yep.
I hate them.
I've said it before on this podcast. I'll continue to say it. But yes, Nick snapped his Overwatch disc in half.
Yeah.
That's what you have to resort to with these type of things.
Yeah. So,
Who's our listener? Freddie B, right?
yeah.
Freddie B, stand down. All right. Let Nick recover. Don't egg on his illness.
Yeah,
And his
yeah.
addictions.
Yeah. But the one nice thing about live service games is like usually once you're out, because so much content comes out, you're usually out because
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not going to catch up on all
Dude,
that.
I
all
feel
that stuff
horrible,
missed.
man. I got a text from my buddy two of the last 3 nights with the little rocket symbol, and I've just been like, nah. I haven't played it in probably 2 months. Like, this is the longest I've gone without playing Rocket League since we started playing. So but I feel good about it. I'm playing other things. I'm still not playing other things as much as I even want to. So
Right.
but I do miss it a little bit.
Sure,
of
course.
It's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the way I play live service games is usually by myself. So
Right.
I don't like it's one thing if you're meeting up with your buddies, and I know that's how things are now. Your social time with your friends, like John was saying, is usually in gaming. If I had that connection, I'd probably feel a little better because then I'm also just playing then.
Oh, if I was also into Rivals and we could that'd be all right.
Yeah, but no.
Ooh.
I just-
Got a score announcement. MLB The Show 25, 82 on OpenCritic, Nick. 82. Not bad.
I mean, you mentioned it. We can talk. I know we didn't plan to bring it a thing, but Assassin's Creed Shadows is
Reviewed today,
81.
81. About exactly where we thought it would be. Looks like that extra couple months just kept it polished, but not innovative, obviously.
Right, and it's still I mean, the franchise is still trending downwards, unfortunately. I think Ubisoft really needed this game to be the 90s of or close to that the heights of this series has in the past. But
Right. Well, we have I think just this is and I said this to some guys earlier, but I do think it's a legit thing to evaluate it as. But we have our fantasy league, right? There's 7 of us in the fantasy league. There was 56 total games picked. Nobody had enough faith in anything to get this one. And that's not to say it's not like a good game, but it's just like you gotta do something else, Ubisoft. You have to. It can't just be the same things over and over and over again. So yeah, I don't know. They needed it a little bit more than what it's doing, but it also could sell 25 million copies, and it probably will.
Right.
But at what price point? Right? Does this thing drop to $30 in a month again? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen things on Reddit that goes, cool, I'm excited for it. I'll get you when you're 20.
Well,
everybody says that.
Everyone says that about every game usually. But yeah, no interest for me. As I said, I want my game will be Ghost.
Everybody gives it and it's not one of these games that there's like a couple 10s and some 6s. Everybody gives it an 8.
Right.
Like everybody's just like, yeah, despite some repetition and bloats, it's really good. It does the gorgeous thing. It's fun to stab people in the neck, but it's kind of samey and so it's exactly what you expected.
And it's weird because it's been a minute since I guess Mirage came out, but I mean since the last proper Assassin's Creed game, it's been a minute.
Was that a launch game? Valhalla?
Yeah, on PS5.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It was the second game or third game. Playroom into Spider-Man Miles Morales into Assassin's Creed Valhalla that I played on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, you played that for a second, didn't you?
Yeah, that game. Well, it became a hate play. Valhalla is very good. It's just super long.
Right.
So by hour 60 and 70, I'm like, why won't this fucking game end? I want to delete this game.
No, I have to go to London. No.
And then it got like 6 expansions after that, which is insane to me. People are. Look at the completion percentage on video games. It's not high. I can't believe they did that. But anyway.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
So
where are we at, Nick? Was that a short one? Where are we at?
No, of course it's not.
Of course not. Never is.
Can't help ourselves. So I guess I know I mentioned last week that I was going to try Death Stranding. That is 100% still the plan. I have no games in my I'm looking down the road. There's not a single game.
Purview is the word you're looking for.
Yeah. There's not a single game for quite a while, it seems, until the end of April.
Claire Obscure, right?
Right. Expedition 33. So gonna do it. I'm gonna give it the full try. I'm gonna try and understand and master Death Stranding.
I'm gonna hate you. I'm gonna hate this. I'm gonna hate it so much. You're gonna be like, yeah, it's great. Okay, guys. All right.
Yeah, we'll see.
No, I know. I'm just a sore loser. All right.
Do you have anything to tease?
Alan Wake.
Yes.
Still going through it. I would say 60% of the way, just based on the initiations and returns. So that's basically the chapters. I'm on chapter 5 of 9, effectively. There's more nuance to that, but yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get through it. I admit that I'm never really that excited to play it. So that's kind of something that I'm trying to fight my way through. It's got great things about it, but this is going to come down to a me thing where it's just like,
I don't even know you.
Yeah, I know. Again, I don't want to give my full thoughts on it now. We'll save that for later.
What's the point of Resident Evil 9 getting announced and you're just going to be bleh about everything?
I don't know, Nick. I don't know.
Silent Hill 2 didn't do it for you. No, this is not going to do it for you. I'm really scared now.
My main problem is I hate Remedy's pathing, I think. Like, I hate it in Control, too. I never know where to fucking go. I never know, because like, okay, do I need to go into my mind palace and do some more shit on the board to open up something? Do I need to flip a light? Do I need to? And I just always, because I'm never like in it for very long, I just kind of inevitably which way was I going?
Yeah, there's something to that.
It's a me thing. It's a me problem. But
stop playing other games and just be like, this is the only game I'm playing.
Yeah, I know, but like I had that for the last 3 nights, and like I get 30, 40 minutes in, I'm like, that's good. Like I don't know. So I
damn, man.
Well, that's why I asked you this, because like I was like, does the story Because like I've seen other people going like, what's the one game you would recommend for graphics? And like Alan Wake 2, the graphics are amazing. Graphics are good. What's the one game you would recommend on this generation for characters? And so I saw somebody's like Alan Wake 2. I'm like, where? I don't know. I just like Saga's fine, Alan's fine, Tor's weird, Odin's weird. So
what's the janitor's name?
He's got a
Ati.
Yeah.
Ati, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like I said, there's a lot I like about it. I'm seeing it through. I just wish I enjoyed.
And it is a weird game because it has like exploration, right? But it kind of just does it, right? It's just like linear. Okay, you're letting me go anywhere now.
Exactly.
And I look at the map and like, oh, I didn't go here. Like the story didn't bring me here. Should I just go explore there? And I do think that is a little weird.
It's like how you can like upgrade your guns, right? And you get the pieces through the lunch boxes.
Yes.
I'm 60% of the way through this game. I've gotten like
right.
I've upgraded one. I've upgraded one time.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll save thoughts for later. But I'm yeah. Will I still love you?
If I just have a feeling we're going to be sitting here saying this, and you're going to be talking about Doom, and I'm going to be very upset.
No, because I think Doom is going to be moment to moment. Like, this is fucking badass. Like every time.
Yeah, but it also has like those sections. They talked about the developer direct where it's kind of like, go. The whole battlefield's here.
But again, Nick, like that's where the go is different.
I'm just saying.
I know.
Or
I know.
But
is the go I get
really
to go
scared.
rocket launch people in the face, or is the go I have to just use my flashlight to look for something?
Right.
And I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's a weird year, that's for sure. So we'll get through it, guys.
yeah. April's gonna save us.
Oh my
and the
God.
Switch 2 will save us. Save me at least.
I mean, two shows. We have one more show, and then the next show will be all about the Switch fucking 2.
Is that a Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's a Wednesday.
All right, count on the podcast, folks, being a Wednesday that week, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be.
Oh yeah, because I guess we might be able to post a little earlier now. We are recording on a Tuesday today. My son's basketball season has ended, so I don't know what Nick's plans are. He's the mastermind behind everything, but just stay with us. We're here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and again, video game just news is gonna explode.
Yeah,
because I mean it is April, but then it's May and it's June, and that's as we know, E3 not E3. So.
The best.
Yes.
All right.
And a Grand Theft Auto trailer can just show up anywhere. Anywhere at any time.
I have a feeling they're going to just flop their dick on the table and just go like right in the middle, like right when everybody else is going. Just like June, like, yeah, we know, but
yeah.
We'll see.
I could see. I mean, the longer you go, the more I would be worried, right? If we're hitting like June, end of June, and we don't know about it, I'd be like, oh fuck, John's prediction of a total delay for this game is probably true at this point.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about that yet, but yeah, I would agree. I think it's probably still on track, but I predict things for fun reasons.
All right, Jen,
song.
You have a song.
All right, so because I didn't get a song choice last week to celebrate my triumphant platinum, we're gonna do it this week. This will probably be the last Hollow Knight song for at least a while until I miss
until
it.
The Switch 2 event reveals.
Yeah, until Silk Song comes out. But we're gonna go with Radiance, which of course is the final song while you're fighting Radiance and Absolute Radiance. It gives me a little bit of PTSD, but it's it's exactly what you would expect from a final boss music. But this is from Christopher Larkin, and the game is a little old game.
So if I ever want to agitate you and put you in the fetal position, I can just play this. We have an audio system at work. I should just play it through the whole entire thing, and John just crumpled in a little ball in the
Start
corner.
sweating.
All right, good choice though, because obviously Hollow Knight has excellent music. It's always the cool thing about a sequel to any game. Doom: The Dark Ages, Hades 2, Silk Song is like new soundtrack.
Hades 2 could just like, here it is. Here's the full release.
And I not to derail, we're ending the show soon here.
Sorry.
But you said Celeste's soundtrack is supposed to be out. We got to look at that.
Earthblade.
Earthblade, sorry.
Yes.
Earthblade.
Yeah. Yep. Apparently
canceled
Lena
indie
Raine, who did Celeste, apparently they said they were still going to release the album because it was done, which is great. So it'll probably make me super sad. But
I'll have all this ammo to use against you if you irk me.
you got to wait till I fall in love with it first. Yeah, I mean, there's a
Lena Raine is great. We
There's a
featured her on the show.
playlist on Spotify that has a bunch of like grayed out songs, which usually means they haven't been released yet. So it's there. But yeah, we'll hopefully be able to listen to some.
Yeah, bring it to the show. We can properly memorialize that game.
Yeah, we'll be back in the cemetery, but like we're building.
We'll be crying.
We're gonna build a
John's gonna cry.
We're gonna build a mausoleum for it.
He'll finally have something good to say about a game in the cemetery.
that I've never played.
All right. Thank you again for listening to the show. We love you out there. Again, email in. We will read you on the show, betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. Until then, we will see you next week with Up to 6 Things. Bye.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.